Real Story continues with our special guest, Governor Dannel Malloy, Governor of Connecticut. Governor, you're going to be speaking at the Democratic National Convention in Charlotte next week. You have a speaking engagement at 6 o'clock Wednesday evening.
Well, it's in the 6 o'clock hour, exactly when it will happen. It's in that hour. You know, listen, it's a great honor. I spoke to the 2000 convention. Very honored to be invited to speak at this one. Listen, I think the president should have people speaking on his behalf. I've watched this Republican convention, person after person after person, governor, senator, congressman, they all got up and talked about themselves. I'm more than happy to talk about what this president has accomplished. It's not about me. It's about whether America is going to stand up for its middle class. The Romney-Ryan budget would be absolute destruction for state after state after state, for middle-class family after family.
You made the point that even some of your Republican colleagues are concerned about the burdens on the states if some of these things go through that they're talking about.
Mitt Romney has said that Medicaid should be pushed to the states. It would bankrupt every state. That's a reality. And what I'm talking about is Medicaid is this contract between states and the federal government where we basically each pay half to make sure our citizens have access to health care. What Mitt Romney has said is that should be a state concern. Let me tell you, it will bankrupt all of New England, every state up and down the eastern seaboard. Maybe there's a Mississippi or an Alabama that would cut benefits to such an extent that they would pass laws like Arizona did that would have denied a kidney transplant to someone if it would save their life, if it was going to be paid by Medicaid.
The states? Are you serious about that
I'm
term?
Serious about it.
Really?
Oh yeah, well, not only states but hospitals as well, because the states won't be able to pay it. So what Mitt Romney and Ryan are talking about doing is setting off a race to the bottom, where states that really don't have our tradition of caring for their fellow citizens. I mean, the people in our legislature would never pass a law to deny someone a kidney transplant if it was going to save a life. And yet there are states that would do that. That's how they would save money. We wouldn't be saving money. Now, I would say, morally, our position is the right one. This has to maintain, this contract between federal government and state government has to remain intact. Should we save money? Listen, this president offered last year a $4 trillion reduction in spending over 10 years, and he was batted away by the Republicans. Mr. Ryan, in his speech, criticized the president for not putting in Simpson-Bowles, which is this wonderful report that was done on how we could balance our economy. He didn't tell you he voted against those recommendations, and he also didn't tell you that the reason the president hasn't implemented them. Now, by the way, the president has implemented more domestic cuts than Simpson-Bowles called for, but he won't draw down the military while we are still active in Afghanistan, although he has a longer-term plan to get us out of Afghanistan. So this is a president who will ultimately be responsible for having ended 2 wars as opposed to having begun 2 wars, and he has a plan to pay for it.
That being said, the recent Quinnipiac poll showed that the gap between likely voters between President Obama and Mitt Romney is substantially less than existed in the last election, and Republicans certainly are at the RNC pushing Connecticut as this swing state. I mean, do you buy that at all?
No, I don't. I think they're roughly where it was at the beginning of the process, and remember that Republicans were banging away during the primary season pretty significantly. I don't honestly believe Connecticut's in play, but listen, we got to make sure every vote gets out there. The difference between us and Pennsylvania or us and Florida or us and 17 other states is our citizens will actually be able to vote. What Republicans are so nervous about is that Barack Obama is going to win in Pennsylvania. The Republican leader said they passed their law that will deny up to 1 million people the right to vote so that Mitt Romney could win Pennsylvania.
Shocking.
The state's Next 5 program. I noticed we have this Bridgewater group that's going to be moving into Stamford, setting up. They were scattered in Westport, right?
Yes,
several locations, and now they're going to consolidate corporate headquarters. The critics are saying, well, why are we spending all this money to make a company or allow a company to help them move to another place and build a big corporate headquarters?
They're going to add 1,000 jobs, and this is a hedge fund, the world's largest hedge fund. The average salary, which is pretty darn big. This deal will pay for itself, you know, not overnight, but pretty darn quickly. They're going to build a 700,000 square foot complex. They're going to help bolster Fairfield County's standing as a financial center and hopefully help attract other people to make investments. They're going to spend $750 million of their own money on that complex. And these are important investments. You asked about the first 5 and the next 5, but what we're doing is we're attracting $1.4 billion in private sector spending over the next few years in Connecticut. We're guaranteeing the retention of 9,000 jobs, and we're guaranteeing the creation, if we pay this money out because they've actually done the things that they said they're doing, another 4,500 jobs. And these are high-paying jobs with benefits. These are not low-paying jobs, any one of them. To have Cigna's headquarters back in Connecticut is an important step. To be helping the aerospace industry is important. To attract a manufacturer from Australia, the first international manufacturer we've attracted to Connecticut in a very long time, is an important step. These are strategic investments designed to grow Connecticut's economy in the short run, but most importantly in the long run.
This was not then a case of a fear that they might move somewhere else?
Oh, I was afraid they'd move to Westchester.
But did they say,
absolutely.
they said they were going to?
They were in the marketplace in 3 states. Now, listen, we wanted them here. So imagine all of the things that Republicans would be saying about me if instead of Bridgewater announcing they were going to spend $750 million on a new headquarters and grow their staff by up to 1,000 people, if they had left and gone to Rye, New York.
For sure.
Can't please everybody, can you?
No. And you know, it's probably best not to try. It's probably best to manage for the long run and let the rest of the stuff take care of itself. And that's what we need to do. We've had governors who manage for the short run. That's why Connecticut lost jobs for 22 years in a row on a net basis. I'm proud that we've added 23,500 private sector jobs. Our government is smaller and more efficient, and we're working with local governments to make sure that they're not laying off teachers.
Governor Malloy, thank you so much
for
being with us.
Thank you.
It is the busiest time of every 4 years for political reporters. Up next, the Kern's Capitol Bureau Chief takes a look at the hottest races and the biggest surprises this election season.